Hello, it's Lisa Gabrielle, and this is Digital Imaging Online, and I'm back to review with you the next page of the handout on how to make a book using Bridge. And what I'm going to cover here in this video is step 3 and 4 of this bookmaking process. So in the last video, I spoke of how to get yourself organized with your digital files, how to create your cover and your table of contents. And now we're going to talk about how to make a watermark and how to get started using the Bridge application. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a watermark here. And again, like I mentioned in the last video, anytime I show you any examples, they're merely examples. I'm not expecting you to do exactly what I show you verbatim. Um, so let's jump into Photoshop here, and I believe I have my watermark file open. And I've also given you some criteria here in the handout. In Photoshop, you're going to create one new Photoshop document at 150 dpi, and you're going to make it 3 by 3 inches in size with a transparent background. Okay. If you go back here and we look, you can see that's what I have here. I have a 3-inch by a 3-inch, 150 dpi, and here it is. This happens to be my personal brand for my freelance work. So I decided that I was going to use this as my watermark. You can use a number of things for your watermark. Maybe you have a personal brand, maybe you don't. You can create a monogram, which is basically your initials. You can draw something. Maybe you have a piece of artwork that you've always used to represent yourself. Maybe you already have a custom signature that you might want to use. All of the above are possibilities for creating a watermark. I just went ahead. This mark here was created in Illustrator, and I just imported it into Photoshop here. You can use Photoshop. That's why I don't have any other layers in here, because I just basically imported it in from a vector program. But you may have several layers that may make up your watermark. One thing I do suggest is keep it as simple as possible, and if you can, keep it within the size of 3 by 3 inches. Okay, it's kind of a perfect square, and it's you'll see. Well, I think you saw in the example that I was showing you earlier in the other video, here is the way the watermark ends up looking up like. It has like a white field in the back, and then the watermark shows up as kind of black. And you're gonna tint back the opacity when you make the book so that the watermark isn't too overpowering. You can kind of see it here a little bit better here. Okay. So the only parameters I'm really giving you is the size of the file, how to set it up. Design a watermark of your choice to fill a 3 by 3 area. See sample above. Watermark suggestions are monograms of your name, a logo, artwork, or a symbol to represent you. It is best to create the watermark in black and white for best results. Okay. Save the watermark as a Photoshop document.psd. So when you're finished, you're going to save the watermark out as and what did I call it? Since I'm kind of a stickler about what you guys name stuff, is I believe I called it, where is it? Oops. I don't think I saved it. So we'll just go ahead and save it now out of Photoshop. So here's my watermark. I'll go ahead and do a save as. And I'm going to save it right into my book pages, and I'm going to call it watermark. Watermark.psd. Okay. And I'm saving it into my book pages. Okay. And I'm saving it as a PSD. Okay. So if I look back here in my book pages, here's my watermark right here. Okay, and we're going to use that watermark in a bit when we make our book. All right, so that's how to make the watermark. And the next thing is getting started with actually making the book. So At this point, in order to move on to this step number 4, okay, you first have to have done all your color corrections, okay? You also have had to finish organizing all your files. Step number 1 here, getting everything labeled properly, naming everything properly. You also have to have had designed your cover and your table of contents pages and save those out as PSDs as well. In addition, you need to have your watermark ready to go. Okay, so you need to have all 3 of those things finished before you actually start making your book. Okay, don't try and get into Bridge without having all that stuff complete because you won't have all the materials you need to move forward with making the book. Okay, once you have all that stuff ready, you're going to launch Bridge. And I have Bridge launched. Okay, here it is. And Bridge may look very confusing because there's a lot of stuff going on in here. But basically, it's not all that different than what you see when you bring up a window in the Mac or on the PC. Over here to the side is a listing of, your hard drive and your folder structure and your files. Along the bottom here is a picture preview of what's inside each one of these folders. So if you have images in the folder when you click on it, like for instance, here's my book pages. When I click on that, um, okay, I think I might have to. All right, where's my scrapbook? Or is yeah, oh, okay. It's giving me a whirly gig here. But sometimes Bridge can be a little bit kind of slow. So that's what was happening. It was creating a preview, but you can kind of see here I am selected on the folder that houses all of the files and things for this project, your scrapbook folder. And inside that folder, I've got my book pages, and you can kind of see here, here's my 2 PSDs, here's my watermark file. I have some other extra stuff in here. And then here on the folder called corrected are all of your images, 1 through 20. Okay. So you're going to definitely want to be selected on that folder because that's the folder we're going to work with first. Okay, so select the corrected folder. All right, now what's important here, and I mentioned it in here, is unfortunately when Adobe uh, came out with Creative Cloud, the CC version of their product, they forgot to put the output tab inside Bridge. And it was a very useful tab, and we're going to use it for making books, but they forgot to put it in. So, more than likely, if you're using the Creative Cloud and you've downloaded it recently, you probably don't have what's needed to make this book. So, what I'm talking about is this output tab up here. You can kind of see it's outlined in blue here. You can also see on the handout, I've got it circled here, this output tab. More than likely, you're going to go into your Bridge and not see that there, and you're going to go, oh, what's going on? I can't make a book. You're right. You have to kind of step back, and you're going to have to do one other thing in order to get the output tab in your Bridge application. So back to the handout here, I mentioned that if you don't have the output tab, then you're not going to have the option to make a PDF. Okay, so I say down here, after you download and install Bridge, verify that you have the output tab at the top of the window. If you do not have the output tab, you will need to go back to week 8 in eCampus and follow instructions for installing the output tab. Okay, so let's jump back here to eCampus. And let me scroll up. I have a big gigantic posting here that says how to install Adobe Output Module. And it explains here what I just told you, how Adobe released the product without the Output tab. So you're going to have to follow these instructions. And they are technical. I'll warn you up front. So you're going to have to get your technical on to get through this part. But I'm not going to go through this in a video because I've read these instructions and I've followed them myself, and they're very, very self-explanatory. All you have to do is download the proper package, whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and then follow 1, 2, and 3. That's all you have to do. Basically, you download the software, you unzip it, and then you install it in the proper place, depending on Windows or PC. Once you do that, then once you launch Bridge, you should see the output tab up here. Okay, if you don't, it goes through a couple of possibilities and issues here, but I didn't even have to go through any of this. It worked just fine for me. So you're going to have to follow this tech note. And in eCampus here, I have it. You can click here. You can also click here. I have it in two places. So either place will take you to that tech note and you can follow the instructions for installing that. Okay, once you get that installed, then you'll get the output tab and you'll be ready to create a PDF digital book. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you verify that. And this week is all about attempting to try all this and sort of getting your software set up and asking questions in the discussion thread. That's why it's not necessarily like you have a report due, it's more a question and answer type of week because of all of these different things you're doing. Okay, so that concludes the second part, which is step 3 and 4 of digital bookmaking.